Well, I think, I mean, it kind of just blew up and became way more mainstream. And recently, I think it started to disintegrate a little bit, maybe. I feel like, but I just feel like maybe that's just shows in general. I feel like it's not, it doesn't have the same excitement as it used to back in the day, because I think it's so readily accessible. Just there's so many bands on tour all the time, and I think kids are just now having to start to pick and choose of what shows they want to go to, when before they used to just go to all the shows. So yeah, but it's definitely leaps and bounds from where it was in like 2003.
You said that you've been doing this for a long time. Are there particular moments that have stood out over the years?
Yeah, I mean, just the first time we ever played a show when kids sang along, you know, that was like a big deal.
What was that like, and when was that?
That was an off day on Warped Tour in 2004. This place called Alley Cats in Virginia, and we'll never forget it. Like, it was one of the first shows we played when we were kind of starting to get something going, and I just remember like we were all looking around like, oh my God, like they're singing the words like that had never happened before, you know? And yeah, well, none of us will ever forget that, like kids hanging off rafters and jumping off the balcony, and it was just wild, you know, just like a little sweaty hole-in-the-wall venue.
You're telling the story about how that was the first time kids had sing the songs.
Yeah.
So what was the tipping point? Where did you realize?
You know, I don't know. I just think we were on Warped Tour that summer, and our record had come out a little bit before that, and we'd wake up every day at 7 in the morning and pass out flyers through the line. Like, that had our picture, our band name, what time we were playing, the record name, the record, you know, like just all the information they would need, and just we'd fill out the time and what time we were playing every day. We'd pass one to every single person in the line, even though half the people would look at it and just throw it on the ground. The people that kept it, I mean, like every day our crowds were getting bigger on that Warped Tour. And I think that had a lot to do with it. And at that time, we were the only like band that screamed it was heavy on Warped Tour. You know, now there's you'll see a lot of heavy bands on that bill, but like back then in 03, 04, like we were the only one. Like we stuck out like a sore thumb. Yeah. Like so bad, but it ended up paying off, you know, like big time.
I did an interview with Kelly Scott Nunn about maybe a year ago, and he was telling me all these pranks that he would do with Maylene. One was drinking urine. Did any of that go on when he was in the band?
I wasn't in the band when he was in the band, but we have been notorious. We used to do lots of pranks like that when we were in a van. And I think it kind of changes when you're in a bus, because you rent buses, so they're not yours. You don't want to mess someone else's buses up. You know, like, it's really way more expensive than, like, you know, you're all driving around these beat-up vans, and you put pranks in people's vans and stuff like that and mess with each other. But, yeah, we definitely convinced our sound guy at one point to drink a Corona that was actually Tim's piss. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's a little bit different now. Like, when we were kids, it was way more... When we were younger, we were a little bit more reckless, but it's not as bad anymore.
What are some other ones aside from bodily fluids?
God, I mean, like hiding a band's trailer keys in a jar of mayonnaise. I don't know. I can't. I mean, we used to do lots of stuff with fireworks, driving down the road, shooting fireworks at each other out of the vans and stuff. Just being dumb kids, dumb boys, you know what I mean?
Are there pranks like that when you're in the studio with Matt Goldman?
No.
Or in the pre-production process, I guess, would be more appropriate?
No. No. Not really. I think occasionally something with food, you know, but that's about it.
What were your objectives going into the studio? What, you know, when you guys were in pre-production or in the writing process?
There's no point to put out a record that's not your best record. You know, whether it's your genre stylistically or not, like, you should be a better band, better songwriters, better at your instrument every time you go in the studio. Otherwise, just don't put it out. You know, wait till it's better. So that's like our main goal. Like, we want it to be a little bit more cohesive, a little bit better structurally wise, but still keep the chaos and the experimentalness, but just make more songs. And I think that's what we did. You know, like, it wasn't really a conscious effort. We just, like, just started to happen, that things were a little bit more structured, a little bit more organized, not so messy, and just kind of like taking a path and just going with it. There was a lot of repeat, parts and stuff. And yeah, I think we really pushed ourselves above and beyond. And that's what it's all about. You get in the studio and you push yourself, you push each other.
What are your thoughts on music and technology? What's too much and is there too little?
I think there could be too much. I don't know. I mean, I feel like it helps as much as it hurts. Like as far as technology goes, like you get a lot of bands that are using all the computers and making fake records. They don't sound like that live, and that's a bummer. We never, we make sure everything we do on record we can do live. And the internet helps, and it also hurts. Like it's kind of destroyed the music industry, but it's also helped get a lot of bands out there. So I mean, the question of what's too much, I really don't have the answer, but it's kind of one of the things that we're living in it, and we just got to deal with it, make the best of it.
For Underoath itself, is there a code of ethics as far as technology goes?
As far as, what do you mean, like what technology we'll use in the studio?
What you won't do that crosses the line? Yeah,
I mean, like we won't, like pitch shift things and edit, like, punch in all this stuff. Like we try to do it as natural as possible. Like the drums are going to take, and if there's like a break, and then like he messes up the next part, like he can cut back in on the break, like guitar wise, like it's not like, oh, these notes, and then punch in these notes, and like vocally, like I sing the whole line, and then like if it wasn't good enough, I'll do it again, but not like punching in each word, none of that stuff. Like we don't really have like we can't do this or we got to do that, but we're just like, we're realists, it's like why do that if you can't, don't do it if you can't do it. So we try to make it very natural.
What about bands that abuse technology? What are your thoughts on that?
I just think it sucks for them. They're the ones that play and disappoint people live. I think it's cool when you play live and kids are like, dude, that was, you can listen, you can sit in the car and listen to the record. Why do you want that? Like you want to go and be like, dude, that was, I love when I go see a band and leave going like, that was better than the record. It's awesome. So I just think, yeah, it's a bummer.
You're talking about how the music industry went to shit. Do you think that it's possible that the vinyl format could make a resurgence and overtake the CD format with the digital download?
One would hope so. I'm a big vinyl collector, but I think vinyl is gaining more collectors, but I think it's definitely a collector's thing. You're still gonna have the people that don't really care. Like they just want it on their iPod, and that's fine. That's what you're into. Like I feel bad for those people. Like I like physical things that touch. I like to pull out the lyrics and the artwork and look at it all. Like that's my thing. I like to be in the whole experience of what the band was trying to convey with an album, with the artwork, the lyrics, the music, all in one. Yeah. But not everyone feels that way, and that's fine. But I think vinyl will help. I don't think it's going to be a savior by any means. I mean, it's been there since we were all born. Before we were all born. It's still there. Bands are still pressing it and selling it. We're doing it. But I don't think it'll, I mean, you're never going to get back to the days of gold records for bands like that aren't pop stars. Like that's never going to happen.
I hate asking this question, but since we're on the topic, what do you think the future holds for the music industry, and how will Underoath adapt?
Well, hopefully I feel like live music will continue to strive, but my fears are that it won't. Like you obviously seeing a lot of tours are struggling this year. 2009 was like one of the worst years for touring for bands all around. And I just think something's gonna have to change, or you're gonna see a lot of bands just breaking up because they can't afford to play anymore. And I think that's really sad. Like you'll see your favorite bands work in fast food restaurants. You know what I mean? Like that sucks. But I feel like people are being educated about what's happening, and I feel like we've seen this tour is done great, better than we expected. So that's a good sign to just see it. Like our fans have been like, oh yeah, like going to a show is more important than anything for a band. Like showing up to their show, buying a ticket to get into the show is like that's how you keep them on the road to come back to your city next time. And I think that word is getting out there, and more kids are starting to go back to shows again.